Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. Our big focus this hour. Residents of Delhi and those in the national capital region woke up to strong tremors as the city was hit by an earthquake. It struck at 5:36 a.m. and the magnitude recorded on the Richter scale was 4.0. The epicenter was identified by the National Center for Seismology as Durgabai Deshmukh College of Special Education in South Delhi's Dhaula Kuan. Meanwhile, the hypocenter or the depth of the earthquake was a mere 5 kilometers. The jolts lasted for just 35 seconds. While no casualties or damages were recorded, the tremors caused panic amongst residents. Many people rushed out of their homes. Several of them, in fact, said they heard a loud rumbling sound. The rumbling sound heard during the earthquake could have been the result of the earthquake's shallow depth. It could also have been due to movement in tectonic plates and several bursts of energy. Though the 4.0 magnitude earthquake is considered as moderate, its impact felt stronger than usual due to its shallow depth and also due to close proximity to densely populated areas. In cases of shallow depths, seismic waves have less distance to dissipate before reaching the surface. Additionally, the earthquake's epicenter being within the city meant its effects were magnified, particularly in high-rise buildings designed to sway during seismic events. But what concerns most now is whether aftershocks would take place or not. What exactly are aftershocks? Well, these are lower magnitude tremors that follow the principal earthquake. They represent minor readjustments along the portion of a fault that slipped during the earthquake itself. Aftershocks are usually unpredictable and can be of a large magnitude. For instance, the Tibet earthquake earlier this year was a 7.1 magnitude quake. However, around 20 or so aftershocks were recorded, with one as high as 6.8 in magnitude. Usually, aftershocks are located over the area of fault rupture or along other faults within the volume affected. They occur as displaced crust adjusts to the effects of the main shock. Most tend to be more severe and happen more frequently in the hours and days that follow an earthquake, and they steadily decrease in magnitude and frequency according to a pattern. However, aftershock sequences can last from months to years. Now, shallow earthquakes are more likely to be followed by aftershocks. So, should we brace for the same here? What all precautions should be taken as well? Well, let's discuss all of those. Joining us at this point is Group Captain Jha, former Indian Air Force officer. We also have Dr. Ram Srivastava, former ISRO scientist, live with us. Professor Dheeraj Banerjee, geologist, also is joining us live on the broadcast. Professor Banerjee, let me begin with you first. What did you make of the earthquake in Delhi, and what explains the loud rumble and also the severity of it as was felt, even though the magnitude of it was just about 4.0?
You see, this earthquake was very minor one. It's not only problem was that there was a big sound, and which is very common in shallow earthquakes. Whenever there is a shallow earthquake, it converts into the energy converts into sound, and it makes a booming sound. It's very common. This time also people get more attracted or other concerned with the sound rather than the actual shock. So shock was very little, very small, very few. I think not more than 2 or 3 seconds in early morning, and it, as you know, as you have already told, that it was a very shallow earthquake, only 5 to 10, about 10 kilometers as a depth. Therefore, such shallow earthquakes are they always make sound, but at the same time they are dangerous. All shallow earthquakes are able to create more damage than the deep-seated earthquakes.
Yes, so let me also in fact quickly rope in Dr. Ram Srivastava as well now. Dr. Ram Srivastava, as far as of course now this earthquake is concerned, how concerned should we be at the aftershocks? What should be the precautions followed, and will there be any? Is there any certainty or not?
There is one thing very common in all the earthquakes. There are two types of waves, P waves and S waves. And this particular thing, because of the 5-kilometer depth of the epicenter, the sound was there. High frequency sound is converted into just booming. So it's a very common thing. As far as the aftershock is concerned, they are going to be of a low magnitude, and we need not worry. Actually speaking, Delhi is located over the wrinkles below the earth in the basaltic layer. And there is one fault you can say from Moradabad to Delhi. Other is from. There are several other wrinkles inside the basaltic layer. The plate is rotating in the clockwise, that anti-clockwise direction, and I'm not much worried about the present earthquake or its after sounds or the aftershocks. But Roger Wilhelm, a renowned seismologist and earth scientist from the American University, he has completed one experiment. He's installed the GPS stations at Tibet as well as in the bottom of our Nepal ridge. So there he has this estimated that after every 1,000 years, Earth is getting one very mega earthquake. Now, Himalaya is ready for mega earthquake. If mega earthquake is coming, its strength will be, its power will be of equivalent to 8 to 9 Richter scale, which is going to be very damaging. So it is our duty to just check out, audit right today that our infrastructure everywhere is capable of bearing that shock, because that shock, if it is coming, it's going to be very, very hazardous. The entire northern India will be in trouble. So this is the alarming situation, and we must take it very seriously. And the first thing is we should prepare ourselves in case of such heavy earthquake is coming. Then how our rescue operations will be operated. That the emergency preparation should be made, and not only this thing, just like in Japan, students are being taught in the classroom how to protect yourself from the earthquake. Because to the best of my knowledge at present, seismic zone 4 of Delhi is officially, it is there. There are protocols, there are standard of constructing the building, but high-rise building, whether they are capable of bearing a shock of 7 or 8, it's still a big question. So one should take it very seriously and prepare yourself for the future, because nobody can avoid earthquake, nobody can predict earthquake that on this particular date, at this particular time, such as earthquake will be coming, because it is all internal happening inside the earth, and we know very well the plate movements cannot be stopped, and they are creating earthquake everywhere in on the earth. Nearly 20 to 30 earthquakes are coming. Those who are bigger than the strength of 4, they can be felt. Otherwise, they are going just like normal routine. It is only one, but
explains the fact that this earthquake, Group Captain Jha, was just about 4.0 in magnitude, but yet felt far more severe. Yet obviously heard far more louder as well. A loud rumble was, heard by many residents of the national capital. What explains that, Group Captain Jha?
Yeah, our first speaker himself, he has mentioned, clarified very clearly that any superficial earthquake, 4 kilometers is no depth. Most of the earthquakes, they take place at 40 kilometers, 50 kilometers, 70 kilometers, 100 odd kilometers, 300 kilometers. Big chunks of the plaques, they collide that much of depth. So superficial, earthquakes, superficial center of the quakes, as he mentioned, he explained that it does create, more of a panic. There is some of the energy is transformed into sound. Being close to the surface of the earth, there is more, deformity in the crusts. They are likely to be more damaging. So it's quite natural. You may recall, you are living in Delhi. In 2019, also 2019-20, there were series of low frequency earthquakes. Those were even those superficial ones. But what was dangerous about is, whenever you get a chain of earthquakes, that often is an indicator of impending serious earthquake. Just now, Dr. Srivastav was mentioning that it is very difficult to predict. It is very difficult to predict. But then there are some, indicators of the serious earthquake, impending serious earthquake. In that, the strain in the rocks in and around the region, that is one indication. Large-scale deformation in the ground, unexplained, is another one. Unexplained land lifts, cavities being formed, land surface being tilted. These are another areas. Sudden rise or fall in the water levels in the wells or tube wells or the bore wells, another indicator. Unusual changes in the wave velocity of the crustal rocks. They are the scientific instruments, they tell you. That is another one. Local changes in the magnetic field also happen quite often in the very serious impending earthquakes. Then there are another series of indications that give you a sense of impending serious earthquake. And there's a big question comes that you have asked now. Suppose if a serious earthquake exceeding 6 or 6.5 happens in Delhi, it could cause catastrophe, because the civic work in Delhi and in and around Delhi, there are plenty of structures. It's full of the stones. It is the concrete jungle, and in that, if they have not taken, if the initial planning of the buildings have not taken care of seismic 4 area vulnerability, then it is going to cause catastrophe. So that is one very big problem about Delhi, because we know that Delhi, in the earlier planning, it has happened. There is a spurt of the structures, like what we had gone to the Joshimath also there. It is the similar things that we see. So any unplanned structural spurt in the locality is a cause for a very major concern. Now, in case if such earthquakes happen, then there is a very urgent need of the local government putting forth some of the precautionary parameters. Look, it cannot be, you cannot prejudge, you cannot know when it is going to come. But after it comes, the subsequent damages, subsequent, the devastations being caused can certainly be limited, especially pertaining to the lives. So that is one area. I had also published a couple of papers in this. Last one was in, I think it was June 2022, because there were again series of earthquakes coming up there, and then it was a major concern for everyone living in and around Delhi. Although Delhi is not in a major fault, like Chamoli and the Himalayan regions that we have, Delhi is not in that major fault, but there is a fault line there running underneath. So there could be earthquake at any given time. So this is what is to be seen there, and what is there to be understood by everyone, and the local government must take few of the steps, and if they don't, then there will be culpability of them not being proactive. One is the set up the different groups of individual for the search and rescue. That is absolutely essential. Once the building collapses, search and rescue becomes very difficult. And who will come for search and rescue? If everyone, all the buildings have collapsed in that area, who will come? So you have to make a SOP where from you can pull the people from the near vicinity where the damages have not happened, pull them there for the search and rescue. And they are ignorant people how to do the search and rescue. There are scientific instruments. There are some animals who can detect, the infrared, ultraviolet sounds. So there are sniffer dogs. There are scientific instruments that will tell you that there is a human being trapped underneath. Second is
absolutely. No, that's a very valid point. And in fact, quickly turning that forward now to more news as well coming in. Delhi is geographically vulnerable to seismic activity due to its location near the collision zone of the Indian and Eurasian plates. The Indian plate is moving northward at a rate of 5 centimeters per year, pushing against the Eurasian plate, a process that continues to build stress along major fault lines. This tectonic activity is responsible for the formation of the Himalayas and is also the primary reason why northern India experiences frequent earthquakes. Thus, experiencing earthquakes isn't uncommon in Delhi. The city is located within the seismic zone 4, which is considered prone to earthquakes due to its proximity to the Himalayan collision zone. In fact, the national capital had a similar experience just last month when an earthquake of 7.1 magnitude hit Tibet. On that note, let's take a look at some recent cases which have in fact jolted Delhi. Let's quickly take you through, of course, now these various quakes that have been reported, of course, from Delhi. These recent earthquakes were felt. In fact, this is the latest one, 17th February 2025. The time, of course, was 5:36 a.m. today when an earthquake of 4.0 magnitude struck New Delhi. Epicenter, of course, was the heart of the national capital. Meanwhile, on the 7th of January 2025, also at 6:35 a.m., there was an earthquake with, of course, its epicenter in Shizang of 7.8. In fact, that also had some tremors being felt by Delhi. Even the epicenter was a distance away. Even in Karor epicenter, magnitude 4.8 earthquake struck on the 11th of September 2024, 12:27 p.m. And despite the epicenter being Karor, the tremors were also felt, in fact, in Delhi as well. On the 29th of August 2024 at 10:26 a.m., there was also an epicenter Afghanistan earthquake, which was of a magnitude of 5.7 severity. Tremors were also felt of this earthquake in Delhi as well. Meanwhile, on the 3rd of November 2023 at about 11:23 p.m., an earthquake struck Nepal. The epicenter was Nepal there. 4.4 was the magnitude, and tremors were also felt, in fact, in the national capital. Also, 15th of October 2023 at about 4:08 p.m., an earthquake struck. The epicenter was 9 kilometers east of Faridabad, and this had a magnitude of 3.1. Again, Faridabad falls in the Delhi NCR region. Also, on the 3rd of October 2023 at about 2:25 p.m., you had an earthquake in Nepal. The magnitude was 4.6 and 6.2. In fact, there were two earthquakes there which struck, and the of course, tremors were felt in Delhi as well. On the 13th of June 2023 at about 1:35 p.m., there was another earthquake that had struck in Jammu and Kashmir. Its magnitude was 5.4 on the Richter scale. These tremors were also felt in Delhi. Also, on the 24th of January 2023 at about 2:38 p.m., there was an earthquake in Nepal. Its magnitude was about 5.8. This also had tremors being felt in the national capital. So, clearly you can see in this period, of course, of about 2 years, there have been several jolts, of course, in the national capital. And let me quickly join Group Captain Jha at this point. Group Captain Jha, what makes Delhi so prone to earthquakes? Is it in a high-risk zone for earthquakes?
Seismically area, no. Zone 4 is okay. There are plenty of zone 4 risk. But the density of the structures which is in and around Delhi is the one area of major concern, and that is why I had written a paper in 2022 itself. I think it was October, November. Moderate earthquake that will happen in Delhi. Is Delhi prepared? That time, that particular paper with the SOPs, with the do's and don'ts, and what should they approach to rescue work subsequently, and how to do the subsequent thought process of everything that should happen, including the remaking of the entire structure. I had sent these papers. Of course, governments, they don't bother much unless something comes up there on their head. They usually don't bother. So this paper also hadn't happened anything. Today also, when I posted, I got a couple of queries done that does Delhi government know about this? I don't know the answer for this. Look, Uday, what is essential is we must do the exercise. Delhi has not done any exercise about this. Since it is in that zone, since the structures are weak, and even if a moderate earthquake of anything from 5.5 onwards, about 6 or so, if it happens, superficial one, like 10 kilometers or 20 kilometers, it will cause significant damages. And to prevent the major catastrophe, these exercises needs to be done. And that is now, I had posed one question today with the 3-engine government in Delhi. Is Delhi prepared for the moderate earthquake? I think government will have to think of it. All agency who are concerned with the rescue and search and rescue, they should get the act going, and there is a need for Delhi to be ready. quake ready at any given time that it comes. Again, I repeat, you cannot predict when it is going to come, but you can certainly limit the amount of quantum of damages that the earthquakes, post period of the earthquake, that can cause. People can be retrieved, people can be rescued. That is one area which is in our hand. That is where Delhi government comes into the picture, and they must do everything possible that they may. Right.
Yes, absolutely. Let me in fact quickly also join Dr. Ram Srivastav now. Dr. Ram Srivastav, as far as of course the Delhi region is concerned, do you believe it is prone because of its proximity to the Himalayan concession plates for these multiple quakes? We've seen multiple tremors over the last couple of years in Delhi.
Yeah, they are very serious concern about it. And one thing is there. Whenever there is earthquake, there is rupture of the basaltic layer, or those wrinkles below the our basement. Then actually argon gas, the radioactive part of it, is coming out. So we should settle. This is the latest technology by which one can monitor the possibility of earthquake in the near future. Suddenly, argon gas is coming out from the bottom of the earth, from that particular portion. So the rate of emission of argon gas below the earth, that can one of the reason one can be in a position to estimate whether in the near future the earthquake is coming. This technology is being regularly used in San Francisco here because it is much more sensitive. In Japan also they are utilizing it because Japan is very, very prone for earthquake. So as far as the as Mr. Jha suggested, we should be very ready to face any serious earthquake in Delhi and nearabout. The reason is very simple, because the seismic zone 4 is very active and number of earthquakes coming very quickly nowadays. That is very serious indication, and it is you can consider it as the red mark, and we should prepare for our future mega earthquake. And if we are not preparing, then obviously we are going to lose a battle very badly, and it will be very difficult to face if a earthquake of
too much.
8 or 9 is coming. May God it will not come. But as far as the scientific research is concerned, published in Nature in 2018, Paul Taponier, a French scientist, he has also worked on it. His work and Roger Willem's work.
Yes. And let me take that to Professor Dheeraj Banerjee. Professor Dheeraj Banerjee, given the fact that Delhi is in this, in this high seismic zone, zone 4, what are the precautions that people can take? Earthquakes is something that cannot be predicted, of course, but we can certainly be prepared.
Hello, Abid. There is something, some addition has to be given here, rather than talking it very vaguely. Which are the places in Delhi which are amenable to earthquake? Nobody is talking about that. The most amenable zone in earthquake is the Noida area, Noida and Yamuna Plain. People are not talking about it because Yamuna Plain is a very thick pile of sediment, and there are layers of clays. And when there are the multi-story buildings are being constructed on that, the clay try to slip. And therefore, the most vulnerable area is the Noida and the adjacent area, all those colonies which are like Patparganj and other places, they are all sitting on the Yamuna floodplain. So floodplain is a very dangerous zone. The second zone, which is more important, is again in the rocky areas, which is intended with a number of faults. There are fault running through the Delhi Muradabad fault. Then there is a fault, Sohna fault. So these faults are all active faults. They are still working. They are still functioning. Therefore, any movement along these faults will produce an earthquake. Therefore, the more important that Gurgaon area and the area, or you see those areas where they are in hard rock, they are comparatively safer places. Wherever there is a hard Delhi quartzite rock at the bottom, those are the safer places as compared to the alluvial plains where the houses are there. So therefore, these two portions must be taken to care. No, there should not be any permission to make the 30-story buildings in the Noida area, but it's still being done. They are also saying all the time that they must make it earthquake proof, but there is nobody comes and checks there whether they are doing earthquake proof or not, because there is no expertise available. There is no expertise available to go and check those people what they are doing it. So therefore, the problem is that this government will say, the DDA will say, okay, there should be earthquake proof, and engineer will say a certificate will give you that I have made it earthquake proof. But who is there? Who is competent to check it? There is hardly anyone in the present day society, present day scientific society, who can go and check that yes, your design is earthquake proof. It's not there, and therefore nobody is looking into that aspect.
Okay, let's leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on the broadcast. It's time for a very short break.